same time.
Thank you.
And then, unless Kara objects, I think what I'll do is open all meetings at the same time. Is that all right, Kara?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Stand by.
Fine. Is that all right, Kara?
Yeah, that's fine.
We're good.
Okay. A little feedback there, Peter?
Hey. Yes, we're
Can you
good.
hear me okay?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. I think you were just getting that set up. So we are live. We're on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, March 10th, and we have a couple other people joining us, and we may have others. So welcome to the committee annual and regular monthly meetings of the Glens Falls Civic Development Corporation, the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency, and the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation. I would like to open up all meetings that we're having this morning, including our committee meetings of nominating, audit, governance, our annual meetings, and our regular monthly meetings for the IDA and LDC. Going to try to move through things as efficiently as possible, but if people have questions, please don't hesitate to stop me. We're joined by a number of key people that work on our team and help us get through things, including our auditor. Colin Combs is here, and from Whittemore Down and Riccadelli, who completed our audits in a very timely way. And thank you, Colin, for that. And for getting those documents to us in time for all of the members to receive them. Upon approval today, they are considered to be in draft at this moment. We will post them to our website and share them with any persons from the public that would like to see them. In preparation for that, I would like to move first to the Audit Committee and start with, we'll do the CDC first, Colin, and then we'll do the IDA and then the LDC. And if you would give us just a general opening presentation on each and comments, and let the members then ask any questions. Thank you. I'm going to turn it right over to Colin for our independent auditor report.
Thank you, Judy, and thanks everybody for having me with you today. I'm going to start right out with the Civic Development Corp. I'll just go over the overviews, any major changes. I'll go right to page 1 of the audit report itself. It's the independent audit report. Those that are familiar with this in the past, this report for the CDC and all the other audits have changed significantly from prior years. CPA implemented a new SAS 130.
This meeting is being recorded.
And it was intended to enhance the communication value and relevance of the audit report to the users. So the engagement letters all changed significantly from past years, and the audit reports itself changed significantly. Basically, it has a lot of the same components. They've added some new ones. The most important thing for you folks are our opinion of the audit of the civic development. In our opinion, the financial statements are referred to are presented fairly in all material respects. No major issues with the underlying numbers of the financial statements. Any questions?
I don't have a question, Colin, but I know the members know this, but for the record, I just want to add that the Civic Development Corporation had no new business to come before it this past year. It's an important part of the city's corporations and potential services that it can offer the people of the community. And again, while there were no new bond transactions, we have 2 active bond transactions that we've handled in the past that have gone very smoothly over this past year, and we had no issues and no reports from either, including Glens Falls Hospital and the library. And so, their bond financings wouldn't have occurred had it not been for the existence of the Glens Falls Civic Development Corporation. And that's why we're here, is to be able to offer that kind of financing to nonprofit entities. And those 2 businesses continue to operate very well with the bond financing that we did in the past. So that's it.
Okay. If there's no questions, then I'm going to move on to page 4. It's part of the management discussion analysis. It actually shows the comparison from prior year to the current year. So the highlights are that your current assets, and primarily it's your cash, had increased $7,126 for the year. Grant provided by the city of Glens Falls. And that's to pay the liability, which they owe to the IDA. They borrowed funds from the IDA. So my assumption, I don't know this positive for sure, but subsequent to us, the firm being at the office, my assumption is this has been paid, that they had the money.
Yes.
Again, as you go down through, the operating revenue is that $7,126. It is the grant that was given to them. Okay. Any questions? I'm not going to go through the financial statements themselves. That pretty much covered the major pieces of the CDC for this year. I will turn to page 11. It is on top of the page. It talks about the revenue bonds and transactions. They were being paid as suspected. We have one for the Glens Falls Hospital and one for the Crandall Library. We found no issues with those. And those are the outstanding balances that the entities owe on those that we're required to record in. Any questions? No? I'm going to move right on to page 15. It's the schedule of findings and responses. So one of the things in this is a repeat finding from the prior year is when we were there, we found that for board minutes, some current activities, the financial reporting and the budgets website, subsequent to us being there, some of those items have been put on. And I had a conversation with Judy the other day, and she let me know that they were. And I'm going to change the very last line, reviews of response officials. And I'm just going to add that to it, that subsequent to us being at the offices, why some of these items have been added. I think, and I got to double check, but I think the only thing that's itself. Everything else has been added.
I think you're right.
If there's no questions, that's all I have for the Civic Development Corp.
Any questions on the civic audit? Okay. And so, Colin, let's go right to the Industrial Development Agency audit presentation, and let's go through that.
On page 1, again, this is the independent audit report, and And it's the same type of report as in the CDC. And the most important part again is our opinion. The financial statements I referred to above presented fairly in all material respects. We found no issues with the underlying audit themselves. I'm going to move right on to page 7. So there were the major changes on the year with cash and cash equivalents. The cash, they increased almost $37,000 on the year. And that's primarily due to 2 large projects for the year. Due from the Glens Falls CDC increase, almost $3,500 from the prior year. Excuse me. And the due from Glens Falls LDC increased a little over $6,000 for the year. And again, I believe those have all been paid in full, those 2 due from the LDC and CDC.
Yes.
If we turn to page 8, again, we can see that the charges for services, that was up a bit from the prior year. And that was those 2 large projects, the Park Street and the Queensberry Hotel. Contractual expenses were actually down almost $4,000 on the year. Anybody have any questions on that? With that being said, I'm going to turn to page 15. Again, it's the schedule of findings. It's the same for the IDA. It'll be the same for the LDC and the CDC. There were still items missing on there when we were at the offices. And I will change the wording there a little bit before we issue the final reports.
Colin, for doing that.
Any questions on the IDA? That's all I have for that.
I have none. Any members have any questions concerning the IDA audit? Very good.
Thank
And
you.
then the LDC is our final audit, Colin.
Okay. Again, I'll turn to page 1 and address our opinion, and it is the financial statements referred to above presented fairly in all material respects. With that being said, I will move on to page 3. This is a statement of financial position. And again, I'm just going to hit the highlights. So your cash, your unrestricted cash increased approximately $60,000 on the year. Your restricted cash increased almost $415,000 on the year. Primarily, that's almost $500,000 in local grants and programs. That increased $3,000 from grant from the city. It came from the city for these, and ultimately it's for small business development and marketing meadows, and it's part of the American Rescue Plan Act. And also within that line, the USDA relending program increased, and that increase was primarily due to a large balloon payment from one of the loans receivable that paid it in full. So currently, as of 12/31, there's 2 outstanding loans on the books. The other significant item on this is due from New York State. That was down about $14,000 from the year. Everything else remained relatively consistent with the prior year with only minor changes. Again, you're at the bottom of the page, the total net assets increased approximately $330,000. And again, that's primarily due to the that balloon payment, the grant itself came into the LDC. If we turn the page, if there's no questions, again, on the top of the page under local monies and grant program, we can see that $300,000 that came in from the city from the American Rescue Plan Act. Again, the LDC received, without donor restriction, under the management in general, that $71,648. That is the funds that was provided by the city of Glens Falls to pay back the IDA for past expenses that they had paid ahead of time. Other than that, there's really no major items to note on this. Everything, again, was fairly consistent. Nothing major to report. Any questions? So the next page I will turn to is page 9. And about 2/3 of the way down, it's that liquidity and availability note. And this is a note that was added a couple of years ago. So we're taking all the current assets that are on the books, your cash, your prepaid, and all the rest of them. And then we're backing out all restricted assets. And that comes up with total financial assets available to management for general expenditures with 1 year. So what this is telling us, you have approximately $119,000 for operations for the year that are not restricted. Any questions? Then
I have none. Any from the members?
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
I'll turn the page to page 11, just the long-term debt. It's the note payable to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Just wanted to point out you have an outstanding balance of $148,304. And the schedule below is when you're expected to be paying this note. It's scheduled to be paid off in 2041.
Not 2021. Say that again, Colin?
2041. It's supposed to be
41. Gotcha. I thought you said 21. Thank you.
Oh, not 21. If we turn the page, we have the net assets with the donor restrictions on top. And this just breaks out where those different restrictions are. As you see, the $808,125, that goes back to that liquidity footnote that I discussed earlier. I just thought I'd point out that that's all the different restrictions that you have. And the last is, it's the same if we go to page 15, schedule of findings. It's the same as the other two. And I'm going to modify that slightly. Other than that, that's all I have for the LDC.
Very good. Any questions from the members on the LDC audit? So I guess what I'm going to do is ask the members, and since we're all here, if we want to refer these 3 audits onto the annual meeting for vote at that time. Any objections to moving this on? We've received the reports. Everyone's had, I think, time to review them in person as well as to hear Colin's presentation. As you know, Colin, there will be a minor change in the issue related to some of the documents that are on the website. And once that is made by Colin, I'll send those final copies around to everyone. and those will be the versions that will be posted, and those will be the versions that will be filed with all the government sources. No questions, no comments. So by just a statement of saying aye for all three committees, Civic, IDA, and LDC, do you approve moving these on to the annual meeting for vote?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, we will move these on to the annual meeting. Colin, thank you again so much for your work on this and thoroughness and working with all of our staff getting this done. And we'll talk later on this week, and good luck to you getting through tax season.
Thank you. So once this has all been approved, why, let me know and send me the signed management rep letters, and we'll issue the final reports so you can get them on your websites.
Very good. And we'll try to get, obviously, we're meeting digitally and remotely, and we have to have some people come into City Hall to sign those documents. We'll try to get everything signed this week and to you so that we can get everything filed timely.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very
Good
much. And you're welcome to stay, but I know you have other things, but thank you again.
Thanks, but I will go ahead and go to work. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Colin.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
So related to that are internal financial control policies and procedures that the three organizations follow. And that was part of the documents that were sent out and attached to and along with the agendas. And while there's a separate one for each of the corporation's agencies, they're similar in that the procedures that were followed to look at those internal controls. And we had a team of people at City Hall and advisors, including Kara and myself, that went through the internal controls policies. We looked at the background. We reviewed all of the intent for each. We looked at the primary functions. We reevaluated the risks. We looked at all of the internal control systems that are in place, and we, and to the extent possible, we looked at the effectiveness of each, and in consultation also with Colin, our auditor, we looked to see what, if any, corrective actions needed to be taken, and determined that it was just that one related to getting our websites up to date with all documents. We did another thorough review of the public authorities law that we abide by to make sure that we are in compliance with that. We went through the PARIS, or the Public Authority Reporting Information System, or better known as PARIS. Mark Toomey has been working very closely with us to get us ready for that PARIS reporting that is due by the end of this month, and also to make certain that everything that was on our PARIS report from prior years were in place. You'll see in those reports a list of all the IDA policies and procedures, and they're different for each, but you'll see what they are. Those are some of the reports that do need to be put up onto the website. And then finally, there is, if you agree, and we agree to vote on this today, an internal control assessment statement stating that we went through these procedures and you find them to be sufficient. And I know all of the members have these documents. For persons from the public, if you do not have them yet, I believe they are posted on our website. The document for today, it's attached to the meeting agenda. I can take any questions that you may have, and if none, we will move this on to the annual meetings as well. Kara, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. That's very thorough. Yes. It's-
Okay,
Went over everything.
okay. All right, just a statement of, yes, please agree to move, from both the, CDC, the IDA, and the LDC, the internal controls and procedures report onto the annual meeting. Yes.
Aye, yes.
Any nays? And any abstentions? There being none, we'll move those on to the annual meetings. Thank you. So I want to go back to nominating committee and take care of that. And so you have the listing for the nominating committee for the election of officers, for the CDC and the IDA. They are the same, and then different for the LDC. So for the CDC, you would be re-electing myself as chair, Mary Gooden as vice chair, Lois Robinson as treasurer, Denise Conklin as secretary. Our CEO would be Jeff Flagg, CFO Mark Toomey, and our counsel Kara Leis. I want to also at the same time I think everyone's gotten an email from me and or from the mayor. I want to thank Suzanne Cassich, who came in and stepped up to run as our CEO over the last year and a half since Ed's passing. And we knew at the time that that was a temporary position and a lot to throw on to our city officer. So Suzanne, thank you for taking that on over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, and helping us through that. And the mayor has now nominated Jeff Flagg to fulfill that position. We've been working with Jeff all along, so I think everyone knows Jeff, and you also have a copy of his resume. And so that is the election of officers and staffing for the IDA and the CDC for this year. Any questions or comments?
I'd just like to also thank Suzanne. We do really appreciate your service, and welcome Jeff as the CEO of these two organizations. Thank you.
Great. And Suzanne's not going far. She's still the city controller.
No, that's right.
And she's going to want to stay in touch with us particularly if we're approving any kind of pilots. So
Exactly.
I think-
Yes. Yes.
I think the work we've accomplished over the last year and a half with her in place is really helps to improve that communication between the controller's office and the work that we do. So again, thank you, Suzanne, and look forward to continuing to work with you in that capacity.
Yep.
Okay, Jeff, you ready to take this on? You're going to be voted on in a minute.
Yes, I've been warned, sufficiently warned.
Any
Judy never
comments?
asked that question. We welcome Jeff. Thank you very much. Right.
Yes, no, I guess what I would say is I'm glad that all the people in the virtual room are going to remain in the virtual room, right?
Oh, you think?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
We'll see.
for the time being.
Okay, so if all the members agree to move this on to the annual meeting, we will approve it now as well. And by the motion of saying yes, yes,
Yes.
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 any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, it moved on for the IDA and the CDC. So, Local Development Corporation. Mayor, I'm going to do this for you. So,
Thank you.
Nominating Committee, Mayor Bill Collins is chair. Vice Chair Denise Conklin, Treasurer Lois Robinson, Secretary me. CEO, we have a new person at City Hall, and I have not met him in person, but I see him now, and I have his resume, and that's Patrick Dowd, and I've talked to him on the phone. So people meet Patrick Dowd, and he is the new head of community development for the city of Glens Falls. I think he started a good week ago, maybe 10 days.
Nope, this is my 6th day, so.
Okay, and here he is with us. So thank you, Patrick.
Good morning.
Everyone has a copy of his resume as well. Mark Toomey as our CFO and Kara Leas as our counsel. And so any questions or comments about that? Jim Thatcher's not going far. I want to just mention him as well. He has been our advisor and consultant, particularly on community development block grant, but on many other things, including DRI. And so Jim is here today and continues to serve as advisor and consultant to the city, and he's not going anywhere. So thank you, Jim, as well, for all that you've done, particularly the last year and a half.
Absolutely, thank you, yes.
By a vote of yes, please say yes, that you agree with this nominating committee and that we can move it on to the annual meeting. Yes.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? There are none. It is approved. Thank you. So committee appointments are listed. I can go through them if you want. We have a nominating committee, an audit committee, and a governance committee for each. It's in the agendas. I'm not going to repeat it unless people have questions. By a vote of yes, I ask if the members will move on the committee appointments for the CDC, the IDA, and the LDC for the next coming year, March 11th, 2022 to March 9th, 2023.
Yes.
Yes.
Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, we can approve that and send that on. So thank you. So let's go to the governance committees. And so the first report here is our performance goals and measurements reports. And there's one report, and it includes all the goals and achieves with a separate paragraph for IDA, LDC, and CDC. And as I described earlier in the meeting, while we have had no new business come before the CDC, our bonds are in place and have operated very effectively with no issues over the last year, but there is no new business. We did have quite a bit of new business under the IDA and the LDC, and they're listed here in this report. Happy to take any kind of questions that you may have. I've already talked about the assessment of the effectiveness of internal controls policy, and you have a list of our existing policies and procedures. Other than the update to our effectiveness of internal controls, we're not recommending any new policy or procedure for any of the three organizations. Again, only that we get everything documented back onto this our new website. And then we also have here as part of this, just our meeting attendance for each of the corporations and agency for the last year. And then for the IDA, you should have received a copy of what's called the S-262 report, which is shows the compliance of the state sales tax recapture for the projects that were applicable to that. And other than that, I have nothing else, but happy to take anything, questions that you may have, particularly as it relates to any of these three items, but also, the performance measures in particular. Keep in mind that upon approval of this today, that this will be part of our reporting onto the Paris system, which I think Mark is going to handle for us. And so, all right. Are the members in favor of moving these reports on to the annual meeting? Say yes.
Yes.
Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, the reports are moved. Unless there's some other business to come before the committees, I would ask that we close the committees both the nominating, the audit, and the governance committee of the CDC, the IDA, and the local development corporation. So
Yes.
moved.
Yes.
Yes.
There's second, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Committees are closed. So we are open for our annual meetings. And we will do the CDC first. And some of this is repetitive of what we just went through. So I'm not going to go through it in any kind of great detail unless people have any questions. And so for the CDC, we will be doing the election of officers, the committee appointments for the year, approval of the performance goals and measurement report that we just went through, and the assessment report of the effectiveness of our internal controls policy, recommitment of our existing policies and procedures, approval of that independent auditor report with the one change from Whittemore, Dowan, and Riccadelli, including approval for that to be reported to the government agencies and added to our website. And then our internal controls and procedures. On the CDC, any comments of any of those?
Is that all one motion, Judy, or does that have to be separate motions?
I'm going to ask for one motion, I think, on all of that, unless Kara, you tell me I should not.
Oh, that's okay.
So I am making a motion to approve all of those items.
Second.
Jane Reed, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, they are approved. Before we move on to the others, for the Civic Development Corporation, we also have the meeting minutes that for the meeting that was held on January 13th, 2022. Any comment on that?
So
If
moved.
none, I'll take a so moved. Is there a second to approve those minutes?
Second.
Jane Reed, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, the minutes are approved. You have a copy of the proposed budget, which is something that we do as part of our Paris reporting, which is to show a 5-year budget. Mark prepared those, and those were distributed. We will put those up on our website once they're approved. Mark is here if you have any questions for him. Any comments or on the proposed budget for the CDC? There being none, is there a motion to approve the budget as presented?
So moved.
So move second.
Second.
Second, John, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the proposed budget is approved for the coming year and shall be reported. Thank you for that, Mark. Is there any other business to come before the Civic Development Corporation? I believe there's none. A motion to adjourn the Civic Development Corporation annual meeting.
So moved.
Jane, second. Second, Mayor Collins, all in favor?
Aye.
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 It is approved. And so we will move on now. Annual meeting of the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency. Again, we've just reviewed the election of officers from our committee, the committee appointments for the coming year. We've reviewed our performance goals and measurement report, the assessment of the effectiveness of our internal controls policy. We've reviewed all the existing policies and procedures and found them to be in good order. We've met with and we've reviewed the independent auditor report, and with the one change that was referenced, we can approve that as well if you agree. and file that report with the government agencies and post it to our website.
So
We've
moved.
also reviewed our internal controls and procedures, and they are in good order if we agree. And Mayor Collins made a motion to approve all. Is there a second?
Second.
Second was Denise. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none? All right. I think before we do the regular monthly meeting for the IDA, I'm gonna go through the LDC annual meeting. So the same, different election of officers, committee appointments are the same. As we reported, we've reviewed the performance goals and measurements report, the assessment of the effectiveness of internal controls policy. We've looked at and reviewed all the existing policies and procedures. We met with Colin Combs, our auditor, and reviewed the auditor report. And with that one change that he is making upon our approval, that audit will be finalized, filed with the government agencies and put on our website. And we've also reviewed all of our internal controls and procedures and found them to be in good order with no changes required. Is there a motion to approve all of these reports and actions by the Local Development Corporation?
So moved.
Second. Second was John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, we can move on and offer a motion to close the annual meetings of both the Glens Falls IDA and the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved. Mayor Collins, Jane Reed, all in favor.
Aye.
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 Annual meetings are closed. Thank you. Okay. So now we have some regular monthly meeting stuff to take care of. We'll do the IDA first. Okay, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Okay, so, as chair, I have no report. It's been, other than to say it's been, a busy month working with our advisors and staff to get ready for the annual meeting, and that really has been the focus. And we've had no new projects come before us at this moment in time. And I can give some project updates later, but nothing of any significance to report. The administrative reports, first item is the minutes for the meeting that was held on February 10th, 2022. Any comments or changes on those minutes? I'm good with them. All in favor, or I'll make a motion to approve those minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second is Mayor Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the minutes are approved as presented. I don't think that we need to approve separately the auditor report as part of our regular meeting. We've already done that as part of our annual meeting, but just leave that on the table in case any questions do come up. So payment of bills, there is a Schedule A. And since we sent that out, there was, I believe, an update to that. And so the Schedule A on your report shows for Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth, $944. Mark, can you update us? I know something else came in and report on that.
Let's see, we had one, do I have it? I don't really have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you emailed me.
One bill for Fitzgerald, but I don't have the amount in front of me.
Okay, so Fitzgerald is $928.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and then There is also a bill pending for Fitzgerald Morris Baker for the CDC, which is $352. As we've done in the past, I recommend we have the IDA pay that at this moment in time until we have a moment to reevaluate the CDC's budget and have the city consider adding to that, because there's not that much money in that bank account, if
Correct.
that's okay with the members. So payment of bills, and I'll update this in the agenda items, is Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth, 3 payments, $944, $928, and $352. Is there a motion to approve the payment of those 3 bills?
So moved.
Mayor Collins, second. Second, Jane Reed, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. The bills will be paid. Do we need to change signators at all, Mark, for checking accounts, or are we in good order on that?
We're good shape on that.
Okay, very good. So you have the proposed budget for the year. Again, it's something that's for it's 4 years, and that is something that we're required to do, is to put together our guesstimate, if you will, of what our budgets will be going out to is it 2026, I think. And so
Yes.
you have those copies in front of you, and we will, upon approval, report those on our Paris system and on our website. And those are mostly our projections of those years out and what they will be. And Mark's looked at over the past years and made those projections based on our most recent year's experience. Any comments or questions for Mark on that? There being none, is there a motion to accept the proposed budget as presented?
So moved.
Mayor Collins, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jane Reed, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So you have a copy of, which I already mentioned earlier, the New York State ST62 report. That is our IDA annual compliance report for state sales tax recapture, and pretty straightforward. I'm not going to review that for you. It's basically a 1-page document. Kara prepared this on our behalf and is here today if you have any questions for Kara.
Just real
Yeah.
briefly, I can say that, so this form is if we did a recapture, if someone, if one of the projects was in default or in violation of their sales tax exemption. So this just indicates that we did not undertake any sort of recapture actions in year 2021.
Very good. All right. Is there a motion to approve the ST62 for 2021?
So moved.
Mayor Collins, I see a hand by Mary Gooden, just put her hand up. I'm going to accept that as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the ST62 is approved and will be reported. So then you have our Paris report, and that Paris report, I would just like to add to that the that Paris report is basically, as presented, is for all 3 entities, CDC, IDA, and LDC. And that includes the items that we as the board members need to approve. The Paris report itself is much more extensive and includes things that we've been talking about, including filing the budgets, the auditor report, and all of those items. And so, but this is the part of the Paris reporting, which has to do with the goals and achievements that we made over the past year that I would like the members to approve in advance of us reporting those items up on the Paris system. And so everyone has a copy of that report, and take any questions that you may have. Obviously, there's a separate section in there just for the IDA, and that's what we're looking for at this moment. So the Paris report as presented as it relates to the IDA. No questions, any comments? Is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
So moved was Mary. Second?
Second.
Second is Denise. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the Paris report is good to go. Any other reports that we need to take up at this time? Kara, do you have anything? Mark?
No.
Jim? Nothing? Very good. So in terms of project reports, work continues to go forward at the Queensberry Hotel on schedule. And easy to see that progress from the street if you drive by. And as you know, the Queensberry Hotel continues to operate and function rather well, even with this construction going on. So nothing new there. And I believe they're still on schedule. 1525 Park is EASM Holdings Elizabeth Miller. And again, progress there. There have been some supply chain issues. And so I don't know that she's off schedule, and we can get a report for next month, but she's was slightly behind. I don't think that project is scheduled for completion until later this summer. But again, I've driven by and I see progress there as well. Any questions or comments on our projects? And Jeff, I know maybe some folks have come in to talk about some new things, but I don't think we have anything to report, do we?
That's correct. We've talked to several people. Nobody's made any specific requests yet, so there's really nothing to respond to.
Very good. In terms of other business, I have none. I have no need for the IDA to go into executive session. And so I'm going to call for an adjournment for the regular monthly meeting of the Glens Falls IDA.
So moved.
Mayor Collins, second.
Second.
Second was very good, and all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. So we're down to one more meeting. Mary, you want me to run through this, or you want me to keep going?
Would you please? You're on a roll, Judy. I don't want to get in the way.
Not sick of hearing my voice yet? Okay.
No, I do want to take this one moment, Judy, and thank you and all that you've done to get us through this transition phase and to bring us and prepare for these annual reports. As I hope everybody knows how much Judy's done to keep us on track. We wouldn't be in the audits wouldn't have been as positive as they were. We wouldn't be in the position we are to move forward. So thank you, Judy.
Oh, you're welcome, Mayor. My pleasure. It's been always very interesting, and boy, it's great when you live in the city and you get to see all the work too. So that's fun. So I don't want to give a chair report for the mayor, but again, the work is as he said, which is we've really spent much of the last month getting ready for this annual meeting and getting these reports ready for you. And so I don't know that there's anything specific to report. We do have some activities related to some of the DRI projects, and I'm going to recommend that we go into executive session at the end to talk about that. And I can be more specific when we get closer to that, but I think it has to do specifically with the potential sale of property. And I don't think we're going to take any action at this time, but I think it would be best if we go to executive session to talk about that because it's not ready for public, I think, consumption yet.
That's correct.
The administrative reports, first are the meeting minutes for the meeting held on February 10th, 2022. Everyone has a copy of that. Any changes, any questions or comments? There being none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Move.
Move is John Cordy, second is, I think, Mary. Jane, all in
Whoever.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, it is passed. Again, the independent auditors report we've already approved at the annual meeting. We'll keep that open in case any questions come up. I have none. Again, we'll get the final report and we'll get that out to people. We do have some documents to sign. I think, Mark, you'll send a notification either by email or phone call to the members that need to sign so we can
Yep.
get them into City Hall to sign. Okay.
Yep.
So payment of bills. So I have one addition to that. So the payment of bills is on your Schedule A, and it reports $528 for Fitzgerald Morris Baker and $2,111.32 for account temps, $104.41 to Shelter Point Insurance for our annual disability coverage. And then I want to add one bill to that, and that's to Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth for $1,632.
Correct.
That's for a bill that came in after we released the agenda for today. Any comments or questions on that? Being none, is there a motion to approve the payment of bills as presented?
So moved.
Mayor Collins, second.
Second.
Second, Denise, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, the bills shall be paid. And Mark, I'll ask again, any need for any change in signators for the LDC accounts?
I think we're good to go.
Very good. Everyone has a copy of the proposed budget. Again, that takes us out to 2026 and our projections. Any comments on that? If none, is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
So move Jane Reed, second. I see Mary Gooden. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, budgets are approved and should get posted to both the website and to Paris. Thank you. Paris report is as we've discussed and presented. Is there a motion to approve that Paris report for the Local Development Corporation?
So
So
moved.
moved.
So move Jane Reed, second. I think I saw John wave his hand. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Paris report is approved and we'll get that up on to the Paris system. Patrick, I know you're new and I don't want to throw this at you, but I don't think we've got anything new to update on USDA intermediary relending program. Is that correct?
Nothing that I'm aware of that needs to be reported right now.
Okay. I think at some point that we need to talk about if we want to move that money into a higher interest earning account. We have 20 years to pay that loan back, and we did have one loss in the last year. And so maybe in the next month or two, we might want to talk about that. I have no other reports. Mayor, do you have any others?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. I am going to turn the project reports over to Jeff Flagg, Patrick Dowd, and Jim Thatcher. If you have anything that you want to report in regular session related to the DRI or the Small Business Recovery Fund or any other report.
One thing, and I think it sounds like you want to defer to an executive session with respect to the South Street project, but one other topic that I did want to talk about was the GF Drive program. We have, just looking at my notes here, give me 1 second. Has been discussed in the last couple of board meetings. Jim Thatcher and I have been going over the various DRI programs that are being overseen by the LDC. And at this point, we're sort of trying to summarize and collaborate all the resources that remain unspent from those programs. There's any number of reasons why some of the funds haven't been totally allocated. And I'd be happy to go over that. Any questions about specific projects. But in looking at the possible disposition of the remaining funds, what we're looking to do now is to issue a second round of GF Drive funding. In short, I guess that program has been the most successful of the 4 HCR, Homes and Community Renewal programs, the other 3 being the nonprofit program, the facade program, and the Arts Trail. And there are a number of businesses that have approached us since we sort of launched the program just about a year ago, the first round. We have approached HCR about the prospect of sort of aggregating all these uncommitted funds from the 3 aforementioned programs into GF Drive. And they are amenable, probably because for the most part, they want to wind these programs all down. And this is the most expedient way to do it, among other reasons. Jim Thatcher has drawn up a draft of a sort of GF Drive 2.0 application. In the interest of efficiency, because as I say, the HCR is really anxious to try and sort of close up some of these programs, certainly this year. We've tried to sort of keep it as similar as possible to the previous iteration with really only 2 changes that I can think of that would be of any substance at all. One would be sort of reducing the maximum award from $40,000 down to about 20. And then the second would be to limit applications to startups that have sort of formed since beginning of last year of 2021, or that submitted something previously and maybe had some issues that needed to be addressed. They didn't qualify for one reason or another. The reason for the first change would be to sort of stretch the funding to the extent possible while still trying to offer a substantial award to a decent number of recipients. We've had a lot of interest since the beginning of last year, people who just either started up after the deadline or didn't know about it for some reason. And then the reason for the second change is that businesses before 2021, quite frankly, have already sort of had a bite of the apple, so to speak. So we want to sort of give equal opportunities, if you will, to organizations that have been sort of inspired by all the things that are going on despite the COVID pandemic downtown.
Jeff, did you have a committee of members that made approvals of those prior to them coming to the full board, or am I thinking of something separate?
I think you're thinking of something separate. I don't think we've submitted anything to this point.
Okay. And so do you want to submit those documents to the members for approval, including the new form, or do you want us to sign off on that today?
Well, I mean, I'd be happy to send that over, but I mean, I think it's, as I say, with the exception of those 2, and Jim, I'll let you weigh in since you did the both versions of this. And I know we talked about this several times. Did I sort of summarize pretty specifically? I believe the maximum award thing is sort of an internal issue. I don't think that's in that's stipulated in the application anyway. But I think we gave the largest award, maybe just a couple of organizations. But is that, Jim, is that consistent with your thinking and actually the revisions we made?
Yeah, Jeff, I don't have much to add. That's a fair summary. The maximum award amount was the internal LDC and the review committee that was, I think, Mayor Hall, Pat Tadish, Jeff, myself, and Amy Collins at the time when we did these interviews of the first round of applicants. So we didn't have a maximum award amount on purpose. We want people to be creative with their applications and define their needs. And a lot of people came in with hundreds of thousands of dollars of requests, which we obviously couldn't fund. So we had to rein those in a little bit. We ended up with 3 tiers, sort of 15, 20, and 40,000 for the 8 that the LDC has approved to date. So I think Jeff wants to keep that fairly flexible at this point. We're looking at $100,000 to $120,000 as a pool for 2.0. But other than that, the application process, the form I created for Jeff and the city to sort of get out there into the public is very unchanged. I mean, it's updated, but no other radical changes other than, as he said, focusing on some startups, more recent startups, and getting more businesses down in South Street in the DRI, which was always an original goal of the GF Drive program.
So to clarify, are you just asking for the board to approve 2.0 without the form really hasn't changed? And although you're principally not going to entertain probably anybody's full, $40,000 request, there really isn't a change. You're just saying that you probably aren't going to consider that amount because you've only got 120,000 to begin with. And if you give somebody that, it may not spread the wealth. Is that what you're?
That's correct.
Okay. So therefore, we're answering Judy's question with these aren't new forms. We just are looking to restart the program to do the 2.0.
That's correct.
So I recommend you keep your committee in place and have those individuals approve those, any new grants that or awards that you want to make. And if you want this board now to approve that cap, then we can do that. But it seems to me that you should, I don't know, I would just encourage you to look at each individual application and make a decision based on what the needs are and not worry so much about the cap. But
that seems reasonable. I mean, I guess we don't,
Yeah,
there's no reason to handcuff ourselves unnecessarily.
yeah, you've got a committee that sits down and reviews those applications with you. And if you want to modify the form and get that out, how much money do we have total left to get out?
I think just over 6 figures, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right, Jim?
Over 100,000?
Yes. Yes.
Get it out there. There's businesses I'm sure that could use it. And
Yeah.
we'll be meeting again in April. If you can move it that quickly, then go for it.
Okay, well, then I guess what we would be looking for from the board today would be, and again, that wasn't included in the draft application anyway. The one thing that was changed in the application was to look at startups that have formed since January 1 of last year. And then we could also revisit previous submissions that may have had some qualifying disadvantage. I guess the one change would also be, though, obviously with the change of CEO, we'd also like to modify that to include Pat Dowd as a member of the committee.
Very good. So I'll make that motion. We add Patrick Dowd as a member of the committee, and we open up applications also to startup businesses that starting January 1, 2020, Jeff?
2021.
2021.
So,
All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And any nays, any abstentions? There being none, motion is passed. And then I believe, this relates to the DRI funding, and there are documents that need to be signed that I think that go to the state for drawing down those funds. And Jim, I'm going to turn this to you. Who would we like to nominate to be the signatory for those documents on the DRI. Looking for your email and I can't find it.
Yeah, so basically, this is administrative. There's two grants that are in the name of the LDC officially from Homes and Community Renewal. The 600,000 fund for downtown revitalization and the 125,000 Arts District grant. Both of those have drawdown processes where we put together a packet for disbursement of the funds to reimburse the LDC or reimburse business owners or the Arts District, whatever the expense may be. So it's just a grant drawdown packet and it needs to be signed by 2 LDC employees, members, board members, officers, what have you, other than who signs the checks. There should be some separation between the check signers and who signs these disbursement requests. The last iteration before this Mayor Bill took office, we've lost Mayor Hall, Todd Feigenbaum, and Ed, that were all authorized to sign drawdown requests. So any number of people can be authorized. We just need to kind of refresh that so we can submit disbursement requests for funds.
And so why don't you name the names that you named in your email that that you would like approved?
Yeah, so I put on the form, and these can change, but I put Mayor as chair, Denise and Patrick. And then Judy as secretary would sign this form, since the person signing this signature form can't be someone who's signing disbursements. There's a lot of separation in all this stuff for some reason, so.
So I make a motion that those individuals be added to the list if they agree to be signatories for the drawdown of these funds under these government programs. And I would come in as secretary and sign that if we're in agreement. So I make that motion. Is there a second? Mayor Collins is saying yes. He's seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, those persons will be added. And Patrick, I'll leave it up to you to get emails out to people when you're ready for us to come in and sign.
That's fine. Yep, we should be able to do that fairly shortly.
Okay. Any other updates for this part of our report related to either CARES Act or any of the other projects? Okay, there being none. Any other business to come in open session?
No, just to go into executive session to discuss negotiations.
So I am going to suggest that we go into and move that we go into executive session to talk about the potential transfer of property. And I would ask, boy, Peter, I don't know how we do this, but can you stay on and help to manage this?
Yes, absolutely. I can take care of
Very
that for you. I just need
Okay.
to know who needs to go back into a waiting room or who could stay.
Okay, so any non-member should go into the waiting room, and I would ask staff to stay for this discussion. So if you're not a member, ask you to go into the waiting room. And I don't think we have any other business. Kara, please stay. Don't go. We want Peter to stay. Jim Thatcher, like you to stay if you can. Mark Toomey, please stay. Patrick, Jeff, you guys should stay. I think we need Mr. Damerman and Jim Clark to go in.
I'm going to put some of these folks into the waiting room, if you don't mind. Give me just a minute.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay.
Jim Clark as councilman might not need to be in the waiting room. He can be on,
He,
not a board
no,
member.
he can't be here, unfortunately.
It's not a board.
Oh,
No.
okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Thank you. See that? Learning new stuff every day.
Judy, is there anyone else you still see that needs to go to other waiting room?
No.
Okay, I'm going to terminate, or I'm going to pause the live stream to YouTube. So the only people that will be privy to this meeting will be those folks that you see on screen.
Thank you.